guys, welcome to this training about purpose. This is where you need to begin for whatever it is you want to set out and do. Everything needs to hinge off purpose, so getting this straight from the beginning is so important. It'll set you up for either success, clarity, and achieving your goals, or if you don't have this right, you'll experience a lack of clarity, a lack of focus, and you'll end up chasing your tail and wasting so much of your life not really knowing where you're going. So I want you to pay really close attention to this. So in order to make your dreams a reality, you need to start with these 5 core principles of purpose. Number 1 is starting with the end in mind, knowing what you want, not just immediately in your business and your relationships, but really knowing what you want at the end of your life. Starting from that position will set you up to really go for that in a clear, strategic way. The second core principle of purpose is thinking of yourself as a cruise liner and not a ferry. I'll explain what that means in a moment, but essentially what it is it's about being a visionary and a leader rather than just a technician or someone who focuses on the small stuff. Now that is important, but if you want to have a life of impact, you need to think bigger. You need to think in terms of being a cruise liner, which carries a whole lot of people around instead of just a ferry. Number 3 core principle of purpose is realizing that without complete clarity, your results will be random. So we need to have intention from the very beginning. Core principle number 4 is that people are suffering and dying even every day because they don't understand how to care for themselves. So knowing that you have the potential to transform lives, knowing that there are people suffering right now simply because we haven't stepped up and chosen to embrace our purpose and define our purpose fully. And then principle number 5 is looking at your unique area of talent and passion. Where does this intersect with your highest contribution? So we'll just go through that quickly now. So number 1 is starting with the end in mind. So there's a quote that says, a person is valued by what others say of him or her. Now, whether or not this is true, it's a powerful quote because when you think about the day of your funeral and you visualize what people are going to be saying about you, that can either be a disturbing thing for you or that can be something that brings you a lot of joy. Think about the eulogy that the closest people to you will say about your life when they're there at your funeral. Not to be morbid, but this is a very powerful technique to use. So think, what are they saying about you? How do they describe your attitude towards life, your relationships, your passions? How do they describe the way you helped people? Do they speak of you of someone who was relentless in their pursuit to make a positive difference? Or do they say less than that? Someone who was victorious or someone who was frustrated? In many ways, the day of your death really is the most important day of your life because it represents the summary of who you were as a human being. It's the day that you can't add any more to your impact. So to keep the day of your death in mind isn't morbid, really. It's something very wise to do. So visualize that. Right now, visualize this day and see the people you love. Imagine what they're saying about you. This is where you ask yourself, what is the most important contribution or service you desire to give to the world? Now, it's good to reflect back on the eulogy exercise, which we just did, and now take those things that you wanted people to say and shape them a little bit more. Ask yourself, what is the most important contribution? What's the one thing that stands out that these people say about you on the day of your funeral? Allow yourself to really feel that answer. Don't try and think about it too much with your rational mind. Just allow it to begin as a small feeling or as an image and let it grow. That sound, image, feeling, let it grow stronger and clearer and describe the sensation you experience. This is a very good exercise for getting some clarity on purpose. Now that you've looked at the what, the particulars of the purpose, the contribution that you want to have, let's look at the why. Let's dig a bit deeper. So ask yourself now, why does this matter? Why is it so critical for you to do this, to achieve this purpose? Why is it of utmost importance that it becomes true? What are you willing to sacrifice to make this happen? Would you be willing to give it all to make this happen? Why or why not? Why would you rather do this than settle for something less, to settle for a bit more complacency? These are all questions that are going to come up for you further along the journey. So if you answer them right now, you'll be able to remember this when times get tough, and they will. But there's no worthy purpose to be achieved out there without challenges. That's what grows us, and that's what makes the purpose worthy. So again, returning to thinking of yourself as a cruise liner rather than a ferry. This is just an example that came to me recently when I went on a cruise and we're pulling out of Sydney Harbour, and I looked down from the cruise liner, which must have been about eight or nine stories high, looking down on these little ferries buzzing around in Sydney Harbour, and I thought, you know, those ferries, they're just taking people from point A to point B, whereas I'm on this cruise liner, which is about to take me on this experience, which is about to give me a life-changing experience with my friends. We're going to explore, see new places, and really you've got to think of yourself as a cruise liner if you want to have an impact on the world. If you want to change lives, you've got to be able to transport people from where they are now and take them through a journey, take them through an experience so that they become more of their true self on the other side. They discover things about themselves which they didn't know. And it's your task or your mission or your purpose as a wellness therapist or practitioner or business person to take people through this journey. That's where you're going to get people the most results. So think of yourself on those terms. So now that you've come up with a feeling, an intention, a sense of this purpose, this contribution that you want to have on the world, the way that you want to change lives, begin to dig deeper and look at, okay, what is the how? What is the method through which I can achieve this purpose? Thinking back to the day of your funeral, when people are saying those things about you, what are the particulars they're saying about you? So they might be saying something like, let's say your name's Gemma. Gemma was an amazing, inspiring, passionate woman, and she used her yoga therapy, her yoga practices. She built all of these different yoga practices around the country that just brought people in with open arms and really embraced people exactly where they were at and took them from this place of really lacking confidence in themselves and not feeling aligned with themselves to using yoga as a vehicle to take them through that journey. So they came out on the other side feeling so much more present, so much more aware and aligned with themselves and their purpose. So that's an example. I want you to go through now and look at your particular modality, whatever it is you're trained in or whatever it is you're passionate about or you want to get into, and now create an actual how. Create a how statement of how you can use that modality to create the contribution that you've just been thinking about and meditating about. So guys, that is the essence of coming up with a purpose. That is the essence of discovering how to have a strong purpose with your modality, with your practice, and with your journey. So guys, that is the essence of how you come up with a strong purpose. That is just the foundation. You can go a lot deeper into that, but if you can just go over those exercises and really dig deep into them, write all of your thoughts out and meditate on this for a while, and things will begin to emerge. So I hope that's been really helpful for you in sharpening your clarity and your purpose. Go out and apply it and see what starts to show up in your life.